Good Friday morning, everybody. Welcome. It is a live crochet along here at the Jayda InStitches show. Since we are hurtling, in fact, towards the holidays, we thought we would have a little more fun with the community and just live stream today as opposed to putting up a regularly scheduled video. We have a regularly scheduled video for you tomorrow. So there'll be a little something for you here on the channel tomorrow. But today we are going to have a little bit of fun with size. So welcome everybody. Mr. InStitches is in the house before I get into today's tutorial.
Good morning, everybody.
I have another mug
How's
of
everyone
warm
doing today?
apple cider with me.
Jada's doing good. She has her cider.
Oh,
Got my
so
coffee.
Yum, yum. All right. Oh, this is going to be fun. Okay, so a lot of you will probably notice this little Christmas stocking here. This is a classic. This is a little granny, what they call the granny square Christmas stocking. It's actually made using a granny hexagon, but we'll get into that. It's a very simple little pattern. We have a tutorial on it. We've linked that in the description box down below. In fact, we even did a live, I think in July, several years ago, a Christmas in July live special where we made a few of these with everybody. So, you know, this is a really fun little pattern to make. It's easy. You can stick a little candy cane or a little treat in it. You can hang it on the tree, and it makes a nice little gift. Well, what happens if you play with the size? What does happen if you play with the size? This is made using a regular size 4 medium weight yarn, a 5.5mm hook, also known as an I9. But what happens when you use a super bulky weight yarn and an 8mm hook or an L9? Well,
I don't know if I have the tech equipment for this stuff. This is getting a little heavy duty here.
It gets pretty big.
It doesn't even fit on the screen.
So it gets really, really big. You can use big, thick, fluffy weight yarn. So if you've got some of this fluffy size 6 super bulky yarn lying around, you don't know what to do with it, well, this makes a nice stocking. But what happens if you make it extra small using crochet thread and a super little tiny hook like a 2.25mm or a size B? I thought we would experiment today with both super bulky yarn and super small thread. So I'm going to put it to a vote right off the bat. What do we start with? The super small or the super big? Your choice, guys. What do we start with?
Okay, I'm going to prepare that poll, but we have a couple of shout outs. Shout out to Nico for gifting a membership earlier.
Nico, thank you. Cheers.
And also a shout out to, I think it was Lynette, sent us a super chat.
Lynette, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Lynette.
Thank you so much, Lynette. Oh my goodness. Do we know who won Nico's gifted membership? Catherine won it. Congratulations, Catherine. Welcome to the family. Oh my gosh. Wow. Thank you so much, both of you, Lynette and Nico, for getting the party started here. We are going to have a quick poll on whether we start with a super small version of our little granny Christmas stocking, or we do a super big version of the granny Christmas stocking. And like I said, we've got an existing tutorial that you can follow for either or. We explain in that tutorial how you can make it a bigger one, just using the hook and yarn you decide to use, or in this case, smaller. And we have a written pattern for that too. It's in the Etsy shop. It's today's sneaky sale, so feel free to pop over and grab that if you haven't got it already. And as soon as oh my gosh, look at what's going on in the chat here. As soon as Mr. InStitches has that poll up and running, we will get to about 100 votes, and we will see whether we're starting with a big stocking or a tiny stocking.
We have some gifted memberships.
Uncle Steve! Thank you so much, Uncle Steve. Uncle Steve has gifted a membership, and Another Cloudy Day has won it. Welcome back, Another Cloudy Day. That's so sweet. And the Naughty Hooker, oh I love that, has gifted a membership too. Thank you so much. And Scorpio Love has won it. Congratulations, Scorpio. Welcome to the family. Thank you guys so much. I love the gifting ninjas. Oh my gosh. All right. So
we are sitting on 80 votes so far.
Nice. 80 votes. Just so you know, here's
it's
a little
neck
more
and neck.
a little more fodder for the imagination. I've chosen a couple of thin size, I think this is about a size 10 weight threads. So one in white and one in green, because I'm going to stripe my stocking, because, you know, why make it just all one color when you can up the challenge and make it 2 colors. And I have more of this crazy fluffy yarn. I also have some in green, so I think I'm also going to stripe the big one too. And for reference, this is Red Heart Light and Lofty. I don't believe they make it anymore, but you can find it all over the place in secondhand markets. And they probably have something that's similar to it. These people, the brand manufacturers, are always coming out with some new fluffy, bulky or super bulky weight yarn. So I'm going to be using this today with, I'm thinking the 8mm. I might even go up a hook size, which is another thing you can do with this kind of pattern. You can use whatever hook size works, whatever yarn you have lying around. This is super flexible, so there is no important gauge to worry about. It's just your comfort level. Melissa, with a membership milestone. Melissa's been a member for 5 months. Thank you, Melissa. Melissa says, this is a great day to have a crochet party. I have to agree. Also, I fell down the tiny crochet rabbit hole. My eyes don't think thank you for that, but I'm loving it. Tiny. It really is addictive. If you can gather the courage to start working tiny and, you know, have a sit down with your eyes and tell them it's okay, you'll make it through this. Yeah, you can get really addicted to making super tiny crochet. I know I have. I got on a whole thing of making tiny little fruits and tiny little dolls, and I like tiny projects that are quick. I don't think I have the patience for an entire tablecloth yet, but maybe one day. Mr. Stitches, how's the poll doing?
We are at 110 votes. It's been 3 minutes so
All right,
far.
I'll take 110 votes.
Yeah?
Yeah, what are we starting with?
Okay.
Super big stocking or super little
Here
stocking?
it comes.
Big stocking wins with 54% of the vote. Small stocking at 45. All right, big stocking it is. Here we go. I'm going to use 2 colors of this big Light and Lofty by Red Heart. It's an old discontinued yarn, but I noticed somebody mentioned Crocus and probably someone else said it looks a bit like homespun. Yes, Crochet Crazy. You could probably use homespun for this. I feel like the Light and Lofty is a little more easier to use than the homespun because it's going to split less. There's an actual thread that runs around through this fluff that makes it kind of on the strong side and less likely to split. But that's the plan. I'm going to use both of these. I've pulled out my 8, but I'm starting to think maybe I might go a little bigger. I've got some other big hooks here. What have I got? That's a 6.5. That's too small. I've got a 9 and I've got a 10mm. So this is what I like to do. I like to literally put the yarn over my hook and just sort of see what it looks like. Grab it with the hook and go, yeah, that works. And then if it's, yeah, that one's not bad, but it looks like it might be a little bit big for my 8. How about my 10? 10's nice. Yeah. If you want a granny stocking with smaller holes in it, use a smaller hook with your yarn choice. And if you don't really care about the little holes because the little goodies you're going to be putting in there aren't going to fall out the holes, then you can use whatever hook you like. I think I'll just go middle of the road. I'm going to go with my 9mm and let's see what happens. Okay, so I think I'm going to start with the green and then I'll put the red in the middle and then I'll go back to the green. Sherry's in the house. Sherry's been a member for 33 months. Thank you, Sherry. Sherry says, got my flu shot, got the flu. Thanks for the smile. Oh, Sherry, that stinks. I'm so sorry to hear that. Yep, that's about right. Everybody I know who goes and gets the shot immediately goes and gets sick. That's okay. It shouldn't be too bad. You shouldn't have too bad of a dose, I would hope. But I'm glad you're here. At least if we're smiling, we feel a little better. I don't know if any of you try that, but if you actually feel kind of miserable or you don't feel well, close your eyes and just put a smile on your face for 60 seconds. Count to 60 seconds with a smile on your face. You might feel a little funny or a bit silly, but you'll actually feel better. I do that. Helps when you wake up with a headache. Okay. Let's do this. I'm going to get my yarns prepared and make sure that I don't have any little knots wanting to take effect. There we go. So there's red, and I'm going to start with green. I'm going to use my 9mm hook. Got my scissors handy. I might need a bigger needle. We'll see. Okay, here we go. We are going to start with a chained ring. I'm going to start with a slip knot.
Big happy birthday to all the birthday peoples
Ooh,
out there.
Happy birthday. We've got a family member
some
with a birthday today.
people today.
Mm-hmm. Happy birthday. Wonderful. I'm going to chain 7 because I want a decent sized ring to work into. And it's very difficult to see your stitches when you use this super fluffy weight yarn, which is another reason I think that a lot of people kind of shy away from it. This is a great project for it because if you count to 7, if you've got 6, 7, 8, doesn't matter, you just find the first chain by cramming your hook through your work close to where that little tail is and slip stitch to join, and now you've got a ring to work into. So this is all you have to pay attention to. You don't have to worry about stitches in this project. You don't have to worry about trying to find individual chains. So if you've got fluffy yarn like the homespun or anything else that's kind of eluded your comfort level in terms of being able to see your stitches, haul it out because I bet you it's pretty and it's cozy and it's fluffy and it's thick. This makes for a really fast project. I mean, look how big this stocking is. Let me measure it. How big is this stocking? From top to bottom, it is 12.5, almost 13 inches. So 32, almost 33 centimeters. That's a nice big stocking. I can stick my whole arm right in it. I could probably wear this on my foot. So, if you're afraid of using super fluffy, bulky weight yarn, grab it for this project. Once you've got your chained ring, we're going to start a granny hexagon. So we're going to chain 3 to begin, and the chain 3 that begins every row counts as a double crochet. We're using that shell stitch pattern, so we're going to work 2 more double crochets into that ring. So you're working directly into the ring. And if you work a little on the tight side, so let's say you're really cramming your stitches in this ring, and everything kind of wants to warp a little bit, that's okay. In fact, that's perfectly fine for turning hexagons into something else because you're going to be folding them anyway. All right, we are going to chain 2. The chain 2 space is what gives us a corner. It also gives us like a nice 90-degree angle. If you wanted smaller spaces between your shells, so once again, this is the stocking we're dealing with here. If I put my hand in it, you can kind of see the spaces in between. If you want smaller spaces, you can also only chain 1 for the corner spaces and put 0 chains in between your shells when you're working around the side. So that's another option for this pattern too. Lots of flexibility. We're going to work 3 double crochet, chain 2 into this ring for 6 total shells. So we've got 1 made already. We want to do this 5 more times. So 3 double crochet, chain 2, and keep working 3 double crochet, chain 2 into that ring until you have 6 very obvious shells. So there's shell 1, there's shell 2. I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to do it 4 more times. So yes, big happy birthday to all of our birthday babies today and tomorrow and Sunday and this weekend. Anybody who had a birthday this week, I'm not sure we said happy birthday yet this week.
Lots of birthdays in December.
So there's 1, 2, 3. I just finished number 4. Chain 2. I've got 2 more shells to go. And if I need more space, I can also just sort of grab the ring and grab my stitches and pull back on my stitches just to give myself a little bit more ring to work into. And also, if you feel that the initial chained ring is too big, maybe you've got tighter tension, maybe your yarn's a bit different than mine, you can also make a smaller chained ring to start with. So it doesn't have to be 7, it can be any number that you need. 2 more double crochet. All right, that's 6. So I've got 1 shell, 2 shells, 3 shells, 4 shells right there, 5 shells. There's shell number 6. I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to join with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. And once again, you're just, if you can't see the stitch, it's okay. You just hold what you feel is the top of the chain 3, wiggle your hook through it, and you'll see that you're actually through the stitch. So you don't have to really see what you're doing. And
the gifting ninja fairy is back.
The gifting ninja fairy, also known as Nico. Nico the ninja. Thank you, Nico. Nico swooping in with another gifted membership. Carol has won it. Welcome back, Carol. I like to lay down any granny square, granny hexagon, granny triangle, whatever granny shape I'm making at. Whenever I finish a row, I like to lay it flat on the table and just double check my work. I've got all 6 corners. I've got 6 shells. More importantly, I can see I have those 6 sides going, and that's row 1. Now, if I folded that in half, that would almost be the same size as the original granny stocking that is a 3-row granny stocking. So that's a 5.5 millimeter hook using a 4-weight acrylic yarn, 3 rows, versus 1 row of super bulky using a 9 millimeter. So this is going to be a big square, or I should say a big stocking. I'm going to take a pause, have a little sip of my hot apple cider while it's still hot. All right, and then you'll just slip stitch. You don't have to really be looking for your stitches, just feel your way around. More importantly, get to that chain 2 space, and we're going to start row 2 together. Row 2, chain 3 counts as a double crochet, 2 more double crochet into that space. That completes shell number 1. We're going to chain 2. And before we leave this corner space, we're going to work 3 more double crochets into it. So row 2 is where we double everything up. We work shell, chain 2, shell, chain 1 in every single one of those 6 spaces from the previous row. So there's 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, or shell, chain 2, shell, chain 1. And again, if you don't want big spaces in between your shells, don't bother with the chain 1. Just work shell, chain, shell. So for smaller spaces, shell, chain, shell versus shell, chain 2, shell. And then don't bother with the chain 1 spaces in between. I just like to follow the pattern that I've already written so that if you do get the pattern or you have the pattern and you're following along, I don't want anyone to get lost. I just want you to know that's an option. And into every single space, I'm going to work shell, chain 2, shell, chain 1. So we're doubling up. We go from 6 shells in row 1 to 12 shells in row 2. Lucy, thank you so much for popping into the shop and picking up a pattern. And I went with this green. I thought it was kind of neat that I had big fluffy green yarn and big fluffy red yarn. So I'm going to do a couple rows in the green and then I'm going to switch to the red. So that's 1, 2, 3, chain 1, same thing. Shell, chain 2, shell, chain 1 in every single stitch all the way around. Hello, TC. TC's just swooped in with a super sticker or a super chat. Thank you so much. It's her first one on the stream. This builds up so quickly. I am only on my second row, but it's already absolutely huge compared to the original size. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 more shell, chain 2 shell, chain 1s to go, and that'll be row 2, and then I'm going to change colors. So welcome, welcome everybody. If you're just showing up today, or if you've just arrived, we are making a classic granny shell little stocking, but we are playing with size today. We are going to make a monster stocking, and we're going to make a mini stocking. I love this way of making a stocking. I just think it's such a neat trick of the math, where you make a 6-sided flat object and you fold it in half and it becomes a 2-dimensional Christmas stocking. Like, how cool is that? Shell, chain 2 shell. I've got 1 more double crochet left in this little shell here. And chain 1, and then you join with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. Just grab what you believe is the chain 3, find somewhere near the top, cram your hook through it. You don't have to worry too much about actual use of the stitch or getting the right chain, because it's not going to show, especially when it's fluffy yarn like this. This is already so gigantic. This is going to be the middle inside. This translates to this. So this middle of the hexagon translates to the inside bend of the Christmas stocking. So if you wanted to, you could, you know, cover that with something or crochet around it or cinch it shut, or just like put a, you know, some extra decoration or something there if you're worried about big spaces. I'm not, because the sorts of things that go into a stocking like this are like little wrapped gifts and oranges and whatnot. So nothing's going to poke through the spaces in this little stocking. And now I'm going to fasten off, and I'm going to change colors. Now, if you don't want to fasten off, just slip stitch across the next 2 stitches and into the chain 2 space, because that's where I'm going to start with my new color. But if you do want to change colors, fasten off.
We have a quick question from Teresa.
Sure. Hang on 1 second.
Why does my count always end up off no matter what I'm crocheting?
I don't know. That's a good question.
That's a doozy of a question.
If you're counting, then it sounds like you are in the habit of either missing a stitch or adding a stitch, which is easy to do, especially when you're, you know, working off a long foundation chain. It's easy to accidentally skip or use the same chain twice. If you are established and you're well into, you know, a repeating stitch count, it sounds like you still kind of might be missing a stitch or adding in a stitch by just kind of mistaking something that you're working into as a stitch you've already worked into, or maybe you didn't skip the right number of stitches because they all kind of look the same. It helps too, if you're doing a long repeat of something, to use your stitch markers. Establish that first foundation chain by going chain, say sets of 10, chain 10, put a stitch marker on the 10th chain. Chain 10, put a stitch marker on the 10th chain. Chain 10, put a stitch marker on the 10th chain, and do that so that when you're working back across your foundation chain row, you're not going to get too lost, because you'll know that those stitch markers are 10 chains apart. So it's easier to count in between, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And if you go 1, da, 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 and you only get to 9, or you get to 11, knowing full well that you counted out your chains as you made them, then you'll know that you either skipped a chain or you added in an extra stitch somewhere. So that is a good habit to get into until you're so comfortable looking at your stitches that you can see in an instant like where you may have accidentally added one. And I have to say, it's not like that just magically goes away one day. When we were doing the Fair Isle style blanket all this year, 2 or 3 times, I would be zipping along across like row 5 or row 6 of a graph repeat, and I'd get to the end of the row, I'd count my stitches, and I'd realize that I was way off. I was off 1 or off 2, or that somehow half of my, say, graphs stopped aligning halfway through the blanket. And I'd be darned if I could find the stitch where I'd maybe put in the extra one, or skipped one, and I'd have to really carefully pull it out stitch by stitch by stitch to see what I'd done. And quite frequently when I made that error, it's because coming out of a color change, I accidentally used the same stitch that, say, a blue stitch was in. I'd use it again to put in the white one. So I had a tendency to do that. I did that 4 or 5 times over the course of the whole blanket. So, and I've been crocheting for 30 years, and I wasn't even using hard to see yarn. It's just something that you can do when you're really in a hurry, or you're not paying close attention, or you're into a brand new kind of crochet. Like all this graph work for me this year was also relatively new. The constant changing of colors, because it was the only kind of project like that this year I was doing. So it's just kind of finding out where you tend to make errors. We all make them, and we all tend to make the same errors. Like if I have a tendency to use a stitch twice, that's something I might do a lot if that's my error. And if I have a tendency to always skip a stitch, or I have trouble reading my foundation chain rows, that might be something that I often have trouble with. So it's just kind of figuring out where you might be going wrong, and using stitch markers is a super great way to make your project into bite sizes, so you're not sitting there trying to count on 120 chains or 120 stitches like every single row. So that might help. I hope it does. And thank you very much for the membership milestone.
We have a milestone from Teresa and a gifted membership from Carrie.
Carrie is also snuck in with a gift. Thank you so much, Carrie, for gifting a membership. And Belle has won it. Congratulations, Belle. Welcome to the family. I'm still sipping on my warm, yummy, hot apple cider. All right. Let's change colors now. I'm going to change colors. This is row 3. I like to join my yarn in a corner space. Doesn't matter which one. It's the same kind of place that I want to start a row from anyway. So if you fastened off and you sort of slip stitched into the corner space because you're not changing color, we'll all be in the same corner space, or a corner space, doesn't matter. Chain 3, 2 double crochet, and that chain 3, of course, counts as a double crochet. So 2 double crochet completes that first shell. We're in a corner, so we're going to treat that corner like a corner. Chain 2, 1 more shell or 3 double crochet. And sometimes using the nice big hook and the nice fluffy yarn gives my hands a little bit of a break, which feels nice. Especially when you know, you don't really have to pay too close attention to it. I'm not trying to be super careful with my tension. I'm just trying to be relaxed today. Chain 1. And now in row 3, we have middle chain 1 spaces, or if you're not using the chain 1, you still have a space between shells that runs along the flat part. So this is the flat part. You've got a corner, and now you've got a space between shells. This is a space that we work a single shell into. So I'm going to work 3 double crochet into that shell, because now we are expanding out the sides of our little hexagon. Three double crochet, chain 1, and again, if you're not using the chains in between shells because you want smaller spaces, don't chain 1, just jump right into the corner and work shell, chain 2 shell, or for smaller spaces, shell, chain 1 shell. Totally up to you. Oh yes, I love it. Okay, so I started with green. I used 2 rows of green to establish my great big granny hexagon, and now I've switched up to the red. This looks very cozy and Christmassy, so I approve. This is such a nice project to use this great big fluffy yarn on that I really otherwise wouldn't know what to use it for. And I really like this. It's a quick project. It's only 3 or 4 or however many rows you want to make it. And it turns into a nice big substantial looking Christmas stocking. It's a nice gift to bring if you're kind of, visiting the neighbors or visiting some friends or something and you want to bring like a little housewarming gift. This makes a nifty kind of gift bag. You can slip a bottle of wine into it because it is big enough to do that. You can slip a couple of little gifts into it or something. And of course they can turn around and use it as a decoration. This one is definitely big enough to put an entire bottle of wine in. And I think, how many rows is this? This one was 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is only 4 rows of that granny shell hexagon that we're doing right now. I have to chain 1, 3 double crochet into the middle space. Chain 1 and into the corner. Shell, chain 2, shell, chain 1. All right, oh boy, does that ever look cozy. Gee whiz. Gee, if I had enough of this stuff, one big hexagon fluffy blanket would look really pretty, just constantly striped like this. It would look very nice as one of those sort of throws that you put on the back of the couch. Shell, chain 2, shell, chain 1. I've got one more to do in the middle right here. Now, this is the original pattern. 3 rows. You can make it 4 rows, 5 rows. You can make it as many rows as you want. You could even just make it 1 or 2 rows if you wanted something super small. I'm going to find the top of the chain 3 somewhere in here. Just going to ram my hook through there. That feels good. And join with a slip stitch. 3 rows, and that would be perfectly fine if you wanted to turn. Oh, this is so cute. Look at this. Look how freaking cute that is. It's the big version of this guy. So that's the original size 5 millimeter, or I should say size 4 medium weight yarn, a 5.5 millimeter or an I9 hook. And this is a 9 millimeter hook and a size 6 super bulky yarn, 3 rows. So exact same pattern. I just haven't like joined around the edge yet. But I'm going to go bigger. I'm going to do an extra row in the red, and I might even do an extra row in the green before I seam the whole thing up because I want a nice big stocking. So if you want to continue like I'm going to, you can slip stitch across and into the corner space, because I like to always start in a corner space. If you wanted to change colors, you could just fasten off, join your new color in the corner, and chain 3 and continue the pattern, just like I'm about to do. This looks so pretty. I love this. I love both these colors, this red and this. There is
no way you're going to turn that hexagon shape into a giant stocking.
Oh, I am.
No way.
You just saw it.
Nope. It's impossible.
Uh-huh.
I don't think it's going to happen.
No?
Nope.
How do you explain the one sitting on my desk?
I think you did something special to that one.
Well, I'm also going to show you there's a little trick you can do to make it a little bit taller if you want it to be a little bit taller. So if you like the width of it, but you're like, I kind of like the part of the upper part of the stocking to be a little longer than the toe part of the stocking, I'm going to show you how you can do that too. Because if you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound. So let's make this a big stocking. So into each chain 1 space or the spaces in between shells along each side, you're working a 3 double crochet shell. And now that there's 2 spaces, you have to work 2 shells. And I'm still chaining 1 in between. But like I said, if you don't want the spaces, then you don't have to chain 1 in between. Because if this wants to kind of warp a little bit on you or look a little tight, that's okay, because you're going to be folding it in half anyway. There's a corner, shell, chain 2, shell, and then chain 1 before you leave. So corners are always treated the same. If it's a chain 1 space or just a space between shells, then you get a 3 double crochet shell. You just work 1 shell into it. And if it's a chain 2 corner or a corner space between 2 shells, you work shell, chain 2 shell, or shell, chain 1 shell if you want smaller spaces. And you're just repeating this again and again and again. So I'm just going to sort of zip through row 4 here.
We have a super chat from Sherry.
Sherry! We do? How come I can't see it?
I'll read it out for you.
Okay.
He's just saying that because he has to fill it. Oh, I see.
Oh.
That super chat was for me. So I'm going to put that $2 in my new computer fund.
Why have I not seen this? Where? That's funny. How come I don't
Maybe you
see
have
it?
a delay on your chat.
Let me see.
Big thank you to Sherry. I will not be filling Jayda's stocking. If I do, it's going to be with the puzzle I bought her last year. It
Oh,
should
there,
fit
now I can
if I
see
really
it.
squeeze it in there. Krista says make it really big. No.
There it is. Sherry, thank you. Now I can see it. I am going to make it really big.
The big one's mine. You can have the mini one. The next one you're going to make.
I also love just ridiculously oversized things because I think they look cute. Like cute in a ridiculously big way. But I think I'm going to do one more row. I'm going to finish this row of red so that it's really, really big. And then I'm going to do one more row of green because I really like that kind of consistent red, green, red sort of striping. And then I'll fold it in half and I'll close it up. So I'm in a corner, shell, chain 2 shell.
Jayda's getting her last year's puzzle she didn't open yet. That's her Christmas gift this year. I'm waiting for her to like have a nap and I'm going to rewrap it.
When
Still
do I
has
ever
its
have a
little
nap?
seal and everything.
You have to find it first. You don't know where I
do have to
squirreled
find
away.
it. Who the heck knows where you buried that thing?
Well, I know where I buried it.
I just have to dig through the piles of yarn you have. The mountains.
I know what I want for Christmas. I don't know if I'm going to get it because I would want to pick it out. But I want a proper knitting machine.
What did you say?
I want a proper knitting machine.
Oh, a proper knitting machine.
Yeah. Not one of
like
those.
a good quality knitting
Yeah, like
machine.
not one of the cute round ones that just kind of goes around and around in circles. I want like the proper
The
old
proper
school
one.
knitting machine.
I don't know. That sounds expensive.
They are expensive, which is why I'm probably not going to get one.
Well, you're getting a puzzle.
But yeah, I've always wanted one of those. I saw one once in a secondhand store and I thought, oh, I should get that. It was only $25 and it was still in its original box. And I didn't. And I thought about it that night. And I went back the next day to get it. And of course it was gone. So
You
the lesson,
snooze, you lose.
yeah, the lesson here is do not hesitate.
Do not snooze. The lesson here is do not snooze.
All right, almost done. What am I on? My third row? I'm only on row 3. This is so huge. Yep. And once I'm done this row, I'm going to show you just how much it wants to kind of warp, which is why I say don't worry about it. So I'm going to tie the top of the chain 3, dig my hook in there, and slip stitch to join. That's it for that color. I'll fasten that off. And just, I'm doing the lazy weave in where I kind of weave it back and forth through the tops of some stitches because I know I'm going to be crocheting over top of this, so I'm not too worried about it coming undone. There we go. All right, so as you can see, when I lay it flat, now it wants to kind of, like in order to get it to lay flat, I have to kind of like pinch it in some places. You see that? This is what I mean when I say it's starting to warp a little bit. Don't worry about it. Not a big deal, because when you fold it in half, it actually lays perfect. Now you can you can really see that. Oh my gosh. See how cute this is? Now the middle of the stocking is the green and the outside of the stocking is the red, but I'm going to go with
That
one
looks
more.
like magic.
It is magic.
What?
I'm going to go with one more
I
row
didn't
of
think
green.
you could do it.
It's so pretty. I'm going to go one more row of green before I join the whole thing together, but I'm also going to show you how to elongate the top, just in case you want to do that. All right, so joining with a slip stitch in the corner space, chain 3, 2 more double crochet, chain 2, and 3 double crochet all into the same space. So we're starting in the corner, we treat it like a corner, shell, chain 2 shell, chain 1 before I leave, and then it's just the same thing. 3 double crochet into each chain 1 space, chain 1 in between, 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, chain 1 into every corner space. So I'm continuing that pattern. My hexagon is getting bigger. I'm doing one final row of the hexagon pattern here. Then we're going to elongate it a little bit.
I know you're busy crocheting, but the chat is lighting up with Christmas gift ideas and knitting machine talk. And I think old underwear, I'm not sure.
What?
Last year's underwear, what's going on, Krista? Family-friendly channel here, remember? Krista's putting all kinds of naughty imagery in the chat.
Good
Keep
Lord.
it clean, people.
It's
Nico's throwing stuff all over the place. Trying to find a filtered word.
what is going on?
It's a disaster out
It's
here.
it's
Absolute
Friday.
mess.
Everybody's coffee
It's
is spiked.
Friday. It's Freaky Friday.
It's Fiendish Friday.
There's pink poop everywhere. What's going on? What is this?
Trying to give myself Christmas gift ideas for me is literally spending time with my looms this year. I'd like to do that. I'd like to make that puzzle that Mr. InStitches got me like last year that I haven't done yet. I want to play with my looms. The little like the manual knitting looms, not the automatic knitting looms. Yeah. I have all these kind of like fun like hobby-esque toys and I've got great big knitting needles. Like there's big knitting projects I've wanted to do things with. I want to play with that huge crochet hook I have. I want to try and make something with that. So I'm hoping to get a little time to play with those things.
Oh, okay. Carolyn reminded me I had a poll running. Are you ready for some answers?
Oh, we have a poll running?
Here it comes.
Are you a lurker today? Yes, 41%. Can't answer. Lurking. 35%. No, 23. We love our lurkers. Gotta lurk. Sometimes you gotta do a little lurking. You know, you got other stuff to do. You've got busy hands. I just love, even before I've turned this into a Christmas stocking, I absolutely love how the coloring is working out. That I like that this green isn't all one color. It kind of just moves between a darker green and a lighter green. And then it really looks nice with that red, which has also got like some kind of deeper purpley wine color in it. So it's not just one solid color. I like it. I think this is going to be a real cute. I think I might definitely put this one in the living room. If Mr. InStitches is lucky, it'll be full of chocolate when he wakes up on Christmas morning.
That sounds like a good Christmas. Plenty of chocolate. Chocolate and coffee.
Nico, thank you. Nico has swooped in, gifting Ninja Fairy that she is, with 5 gifted memberships. Thank you so much. Welcome, PB, Kate, Lawrence, and Debbie, and Kayla. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is going to be so fluffy. I love it. If you wanted to, let's just say you were concerned about the spaces in between your shells, before you fold it in half and turn it into a stocking, you could line it. You could line it with, anything you've got lying around, but typically non-fraying fabric is the best. So like, t-shirt yarn, polar fleece, something like that. And I'll show you how you would do that. Very, very easy. Probably one of the easiest things you would ever line next to a blanket. Let me just finish this last row here. One more shell and then one more chain one. There we go. And slip stitch to the top of the chain 3 to join. Let's lay this out. This is getting pretty big. So it's warping a little bit, but that's perfectly fine because we are going to be folding it in half. This is my outside or my good side. So this is the inside. All you would do is lay out your hexagon, flatten it as best you can, and then take a piece of fabric like polar fleece or jersey or anything that isn't going to fray on you, and lay it down flat. Lay this down on top of it and just sort of trace around the outside. Cut out the fabric And then you take the fabric, you lay it on the inside or the wrong side of your hexagon, and with a needle and thread, or even like a needle, like an embroidery floss or something, just loosely go around and stitch it. You can use a running stitch, a basting stitch, an overlock stitch, whatever you want, whatever's comfortable. Just loosely stitch it so that when this stretches, you're not going to snap your stitches. Loosely stitch it all the way around, and you've lined it. Because then when you fold it in half, the lining will be on the inside, and it will not have any, like nothing will be able to come through the little spaces. So that will be your Christmas stocking. It'll be fully lined, and then you can still go ahead and seam it up, make it longer, whatever you like. So I really like how this one's turning out. Okay. How do you make a Christmas stocking taller? So I've folded it in half, and all you're doing is just grabbing one corner and putting it on the opposite corner. And I've done it so that, let me just slip stitch across to the chain 2 space where I usually like to start. Wherever your hook is, so you've fastened off, this is me up here, I haven't fastened off yet. Come down, take the next corner and fold it in half so that you are looking at your boot, so to speak. Here is your heel, here's the inside bend, here's the toe, and your hook is up here at the top. In order to elongate it, all we're going to do is work some back and forth shell stitch. So right from the corner, I'm going to chain 3 to begin, work 2 more double crochet into that corner, so just 1 shell, chain 1, and then a shell into the next space. I'm only working across the top, this one edge of my hexagon. Chain 1. So you see, here's my corner space where I started. I chained 3, finished a shell, chained 1, shell, chain 1, shell, chain 1, shell, chain 1, shell, chain 1, shell into the other corner space. And if I still want to make it taller, then I will chain 3, turn, and I will work back. But I'm also going to check it. I'm going to fold it in half after I finish this row, just to see if I want it to be any taller. Now this is just a fun little trick if you don't like the evenness of the little boot sort of thing. Like, so if you just make the regular hexagon and you fold it in half, this is what you get. It is an even sort of foot to ankle ratio. And if you want your ankle to be a little bit taller, then you just do this. You work that granny shell stitch across the top, or whatever side you're on, doesn't matter. It becomes the top. So that's a shell at the end. I'm just going to pull up on my loop, and then I fold it in half again, and you can see my top is growing, and if I want to go up a little higher, I'll just turn and go back and do the same thing. So I think I am going to make it a little taller. Why not? I also could stop here, change colors again, and go back to red and make it a red stripe up top, which would look kind of cute. But I want to seam the whole thing up in green, so I don't want to have any red edges. And that's just personal taste. You can do whatever you like. Chain 3, turn. I'm not going to chain the extra chain because my spaces are already pretty nice and big, so I'm just going to chain 3, and I'm going to work a shell into the next space. And I'll chain 1 in between my shells. Just love how fluffy this stuff is, but it's not like creating a lot of fluff. I'm sorry they stopped making the light and lofty. I actually really like it.
I think it was Shell who mentioned that Lion Brand currently has something very similar, but it's obviously a different name.
Yes.
If you know what that name is, let us know in the chat.
I'm just going to work a double crochet into the top of the chain 3 from the previous little row, because I started with a chain 3 or a post double crochet, shell all the way across, and then I end with a post. So when you're working the shell stitch back and forth, every other row starts and ends with a shell, and the rows in between start and end with a single chain 3 or a double crochet, and that just kind of keeps things even, keeps you having a nice flat edge all the way up. Let's see, where are we at? So that feels nice and tall. So that's an extra 2 rows of that shell stitch along the top. I feel like that makes it just enough, a bit taller. It looks a bit like a ski boot.
Yes, it does look like a ski boot.
All right, so then all we're going to do is seam up the edge. So I've just chained one up here to prepare. I'm going to flip it apart, but I'm going to seam all the way down the long back edge of the boot, around the heel, along the bottom of the boot, around the bottom of the toe, and up into the toe section. One long seam. And you can do this a couple ways. You can single crochet, you can stitch it, you can slip stitch it. When you're using big fluffy yarn like this, you can kind of get away with anything you want. But I'm going to single crochet.
What are you talking about?
Ah.
I am on fire today.
Oh gosh.
Come on, that was a good one.
That was pretty good.
Wife, what are you talking about?
A boot. A little nod to our West Coast friends.
Our West Coast Canadians.
It's so funny. I never heard anybody in my life actually talk like that for real. So when we grew up watching, I think it was what was it? Was it the, oh gosh, what was that skit?
That was a 10 out of 10 dad joke. That was dad joke level.
That was dad level.
Yeah, that was dad joke level. 10 out of 10 for sure.
Who was it? The Bill, Bob and Doug.
Oh yeah.
You know.
They were kind of like beer drinking fisher.
Yeah, I
dudes.
think the whole joke about Bob and Doug.
SNC TV or something, where John Candy came from.
Yeah, Bob and Doug McKenzie, that skit.
Yeah.
And they said things like a boot.
Yes.
And
SCTV. That's
SCTV. Yeah. And I thought, who talks like that? I made me laugh because I was like, who talks like that? I never met anybody in my life who speaks like that. And then I started hearing Americans making jokes about the boot thing. I'm like, oh, that's because you guys saw the Bob and Doug McKenzie.
Yes.
And I'm like, because nobody actually speaks like that until we found a YouTuber from the West Coast who actually speaks like that.
In BC, we watched a YouTuber.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, there are Canadians that sound like that. It's true.
Canada's big.
Yeah, Canada's huge. All right, so I'm just going to single crochet all the way down, and all I'm doing is I'm kind of gonna feel my way down. It's not a big deal. I know that I've got like double crochets or chain 3s to start because I'm working across that first little edge, and I'm just poking my stitch or my hook through what I think is a stitch, doesn't matter. And then I'm single crocheting, and I'm just going to break it into sets of 3 because I know I've got shells that match up all the way down. So I'm just looking for those shells, knowing that there's chains and three double crochets in between. And I'm just going to slowly work my way across, making sure I pause at every chain 1 space to ensure that I haven't, misaligned it anywhere. And I'm just sticking my hook through where it feels like it makes sense. So that feels like a stitch, and that's a stitch.
We have a super chat from Deanna.
Hi, Deanna. Deanna with a super chat. Thank you so much. Jayda, have you ever seen the new RH Granny yarn? Have you seen the new RH Granny yarn? No, I have not. Thank you for the super. RH, so Red Heart, Granny yarn? Like, Granny is in, like, old lady, or Granny is in Granny Square? That sounds fun.
Ah, the classic Granny Square.
I mean, who doesn't love a granny square? Is that what it is, granny square?
Does the label have a picture of a granny on?
Red heart, yep.
Or a granny square on it? I'm curious.
As an original, okay, so Krista says, as an original American, I have had experience with someone from Quebec speaking like that, but that's it. Quebec? Really? That's funny. I have only ever heard someone really talking like that in like for real, not pretending or being silly. And it's this YouTuber from the West Coast. So I think it's adorable. I didn't realize that anybody actually spoke like that. I guess it's kind of a West Coasty or heading out west kind of thing. Because I always thought that, at least in Ontario, we tend to sound more like the Californians. The Californians don't have an accent to us. They don't sound like any different than we do. I don't know why that would be the case. I think that's kind of strange, really. But and then the east coast of Canada, they sound different again, depending on what province you're from. I love it. Canada's so huge. America's so huge. When you have these gigantic, countries, it's no wonder everybody's sort of language changes a little bit and their pronunciation of things changes a little bit over such massive spaces. So it's granny square yarn. Okay, no, I haven't seen it. That sounds like fun. So what does it do? Is it like designed to kind of make sense of each row getting bigger than the last one so that each row's a different stripe? Or is it like just enough yarn in one ball for a granny square or something? I'll have to look this up. When you get down to the bottom corner, which is the heel, you're going to be in the chain 2 corner space. So I'm just going to work 3 single crochets into that chain 2 corner space just to turn the corner. So I get a nice smooth corner going around. Hi, Melody. Melody's been a member for 60 months. Thank you, Melody. Welcome, Melody. Melody says, finally able to be part of a live stream on my birthday. Yay! Thanks for all you do. Hey, happy birthday. Happy birthday, Melody. Awesome. Thanks for spending it with us. And I'm still just single crocheting through each set of stitches. What I'm doing is I'm just putting my fingers in the chain 1 spaces, knowing that they line up. And when I get to a chain 1 space, I just single crochet right through it. And then knowing that there's at least 3 double crochets in between each chain 1 space. So I'm not really like looking for the stitch so much as I'm feeling for it. And I'm just cramming my hook through there and single crocheting, knowing that it's going to work. I have faith. I have faith in my hook and I have faith in the yarn. Then I'm single crocheting through each set of stitches. And I'm single crocheting right through the set of chain 1 spaces. That looks like it might be a chain 3, but I'm just going to cram my hook through whatever feels good. As long as I'm getting in 3 single crochets in between the chain 1 spaces, that's all that matters to me. It's coming together nicely. Yes, nice and smooth. And making sure that every once in a while you stick your hand in, make sure you haven't missed any stitches and you haven't got any gaps or anything. And that's why I say just make sure you're plunking your hook right through everything. Hello, Louise. Thank you so much for picking up a pattern. And now I'm up to the first of the 2 toe corners. So this is also a chain 2 corner or at the toe. So I'm going to work 3 single crochet right into that chain 2 corner space, and that will just turn the corner nice and smooth. So now I've sort of smoothed out that corner. And it's the same thing. Now I'm just stitching up the toe section. So I'm single crocheting through those matched stitches, making sure I get my hook through both sides of the stocking, and then the space. And then I've got one more set. I'm not straining my eyes. I'm just feeling my way through. There we go. That one seemed to snag on something. There we go. And then the last space, and the top up here is actually a shell that's folded in half. So I'm just going to put my hook right through the last couple of stitches. There'll be a stitch, maybe a space, doesn't really matter. I'm just going to get my hook right through it, work one last single crochet, and then slip stitch into the same place. And that just cleans up that edge. There's no sort of gap at the toe. And then I can fasten off and weave in the tail. Like that. I'm going to pull up on it a little bit so it looks a little bit elf-like.
I have a new pole coming at you.
Ooh, okay. I'm just going to weave this tail back down through some of these stitches. Should Mr. re-gift Jayda's unopened puzzle gift from last year? You stinker. No. 54%. Yes. 23%. Absolutely. 16%. For sure. What?
So if we add yes, absolutely, and for sure together, they still don't beat out no. This is unfair, everyone in the chat. Taking Jayda's side.
I'm looking forward to doing that. Besides, I'm the one who knows where that pillow, that puzzle is. You don't know where it is. So.
I'll find it.
All right, one last little slippery-do. There we go. Now, that is the stocking all done up. I can stick my arm in it, and it's completely full and seamed up. Oh gosh, this is so cute. I like it on either side. I really like the color change on this side. That is really nice. Okay, so we've seamed it up. I showed you how to add a couple of extra rows up top just to make it a little bit taller. On this one, I added a little bit of an edging just to kind of make it look a little prettier around the top. And I didn't have any yarn that was the same thickness. So I used some of that Bernat baby coordinates that it's really, really pretty, but it's really annoying yarn. And I sort of doubled up the strands together, and I just whipped up a quick little edging here, which I think is kind of pretty. So I don't know whether I should do the same one up here or not. It does need something up top. It needs some kind of a cuff. So let me see. What have I got that I can edge it with? You know what? I'll think about that one. I'm going to try the super small version of this granny stocking now. So I'm going to think about this. While I'm working on the super small granny, I'm going to look around my craft room with one eye to see what, because I've got more of this, but it's kind of annoying to work with, so I'd rather try something else. But I do like that little bit of shimmer that runs through it, which is why I grabbed it in the first place. But I'm going to put this just to the side, and I'm going to switch now to my crochet thread, and I'm going to try and make the exact same little guy, but super small. So here we go. I might only do...
Part 2 of the live stream.
I might do 2 rows.
Starting now. Do you need a little intermission break?
Little intermission.
You good?
Me? Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. Yeah. I might add a little bit more to my... No, I've still got half a mug of cider left. Okay, so I'm going to start with white, and then I'm going to go to green. Will I go to white to green or green to white? Not white to green. Okay, so I'm using size 10 crochet thread. I've got a B hook here, 2.25 millimeter, and I'm going to make it pretty much exactly the same way that I made the first one. I'm going to chain 6 this time instead of 7. So I'm starting with a chained ring, but I'm going to start with fewer chains just so I have a smaller little circle. And row 1 begins with a chain 3, which counts as a double crochet. I'm going to make sure I work over top of that little tiny tail. 2 more double crochet into the ring. And that is my first shell made. Chain 2 and 3 double crochet, chain 2 5 more times. Lots of giggling going on over there, mister.
I'm trying to protect myself from your army of supporters. I'm trying to get away with re-gifting you a Christmas gift, but everyone else insists I have to buy you a new Christmas gift.
Well, maybe you should.
But I wholeheartedly disagree with that. I think we're going re-gifting style this year.
Maybe
it's 2023. The world is upside down. I think Christmas should be upside down.
Well, whatever you do, do not tell your mother that you are planning on jipping me
I hope she's not listening
a gift
right now.
because she will kill.
We're getting a little bit of buffering.
Chain 2.
Hopefully it reconnects.
Yep, looks like it did.
We've got way too many things running on this computer.
I know, the poor computer.
Now that we have the better internet, the computer's
Oh, it's always
slow.
something. Switch back to white and seam it up. So that is, ooh. Will I just drop it? Yeah, you know what? Why not? Why bother cutting it? I'm going to see if I can do this. I'm just going to drop the yarn color or the thread color I'm not using. I'm going to switch to the green because this is all going to wind up on the inside anyway. There we go. So I'm switching to green now. I'm just going to leave the white to the back. I'm going to chain 3. I'm going to pull down on that. And, oh, I should, nope.
I might have to zoom in on you. Can you work a little?
I need to start in a corner. You know what? Changing my mind again. Hang on, sorry.
I'm trying to get you on camera here.
Sorry
wow,
about
that's
that.
small.
It's very, very small. All right, first I'm going to
There
slip
we
stitch
go.
over to the corner space. Then I'm going to change colors. So I'm
Okay.
going to just slip stitch into the corner with the white.
All right, I will repost the poll question in the chat. Some people are still having issues with the poll. We have to remember to feedback. Give YouTube some feedback about the polls and see
Yes.
if they can look into it. We never used to have any problems with it. Everyone is back. Okay, good.
So I'm just going to work row 1 in white. I'm switching to green for row 2, but I didn't cut my thread. I just dropped it. So I think that's going to work. It's going to just sit behind where I'm going to need it anyway when I get back to row 3. So I'm going to just do row 2 in green, and then I'm going to have the whole thing in sort of finished off in white. So that's the plan. Working nice and tiny here. So it's shell, chain 2, shell, chain 1 in every space all the way around because I'm on row 2. This will be very, very delicate. I think, once again, this could act as a tuck-in. Just the tiniest, cutest little ornament, little delicate ornament. You could turn it into a pin. Oh, this might make a really cute pin. Guys, I think I'm going to make this a pin. Yep, I'm going to make this a little brooch. That's what's happening.
We're experiencing some issues here.
Are we?
Yeah. So I'm going to end the poll. I'm going to try and cut back on some of the stuff running, see if it helps.
Thanks for the feedback, guys. It is so valuable to us to know how things look on that side because we can't always tell. Nico, thank you, Nico. Nico swoops in with another gifted membership, and Knit Pearl and Squirrel has won it. Congratulations, Knit Pearl and Squirrel. Granny D back in the house. Congratulations. Should Mr. buy Jayda more yarn for Christmas? I guess. 73%. Nope. 13. Regift only. 10%. Don't bother. 2%.
I can't catch a win out here.
I'm going to I'm gonna maybe get myself, I don't know, I'm gonna look into that granny yarn. I might give it a try. I do like stuff that's granny related. I love granny squares. All right, joining that row with a slip stitch. Oh, this is so small and delicate. This is going to be so cute. That's all I need for the green, so I'm going to fasten off, and then I'm going to pick the white back up. I'm going to leave quite a tail on that so I can make sure it is good and woven in. And this is too big. I need my little sewing. That one might be too big too. This one. I'm going to weave this in.
Definitely having some squirrel tech issues here.
Yeah?
Yep.
Is it?
I'm not sure if the stream's still running live. I can't tell on my end.
Yeah, well, it looks like it's still running over here.
Yeah, you see it over there?
I can see myself kind of.
Did we get this member milestone from Melody? Did you see that?
Yeah, Melody?
Melody, yes.
Yeah, that was quite a ways ago.
Oh, okay. So I'm just really
It's her birthday.
On my
Is
end.
that the one that says it's her birthday?
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah. Happy birthday again, guys. To Melody and everybody else who's celebrating. That's okay.
It might just be on my end.
It sounds like it's just on your end. So that's a good sign. Poor little computer. And I'm just taking my time weaving in this green thread because I really don't want it to come undone. I think that's pretty good. I'll just stick this back through here and then I'll trim whatever's left. There we go. Okay, so trim the rest of that green, careful not to snip my actual crochet, put needle away.
Okay, looks like we're good. It's just on my end everything's getting all wonky.
All right.
But we're still streaming live.
Good to know.
Yay!
All right, so I am going to pull my carried
yes, the
yarn.
sarcastic pulls is having an effect. Maybe the squirrels don't like them.
I'll pull it up through here. And then I'm going to slip stitch into here. All right, so.
I think it's the pulls in general.
Yeah, they seem to give you trouble.
And also I'm noticing the more people we have watching, the more the computer struggles. So I guess it just can't keep up with everything it's processing. So, you know, hint, 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 hint.
I don't think I can get you an entire computer for Christmas, sweetie.
No?
No.
You don't think you can squeeze it in that tiny little stocking you're making right now? Brand new computer?
I think not. All right, so there is, I've just switched back to white, and I'm going to do one more row of this granny hexagon in the white, and then I'm going to fold it in half. And I'm going to see if I want to change anything else to do with it. I think this is going to be so cute. And then I'm going to attach a pin to it because I think this would make a really cute little brooch. I mean, the fact that it's thread makes it look really like fancy and dainty. So still doing the whole shell, chain 2 shell, chain 1 in the corners, and then I'm doing 3 double crochet, chain 1 in all of the chain 1 spaces. And I'm not too worried about the size of the spaces in between my shells because this is just decorative. I think the mister should build his own computer, Penelope. I think he'd actually probably enjoy that.
I thought about it. You have to order all the parts separately. Make sure you have everything you need.
Yeah, you have to do a lot of
I'd
research.
rather you crocheted me a new computer. Maybe you can crochet me one.
If I could crochet you a
Someone
computer,
suggested that.
I should try and crochet you a
Rebecca?
computer. I don't know if it would work, but it would be cute.
Well, it looks like we were still running the whole time, so that's
Ooh.
good.
Karen, thank you. Karen's just picked up a pattern. Thank you so much, Karen. Oh my gosh. Okay, I like this. I mean, I like anything in thread. It looks really nifty, but it just, I mean, that's just a granny hexagon, and it just looks so delicate. It almost looks like a flower. Wow, it looks so different than the great big fluffy thing we just made. I think most of you have probably heard this story, but I first got one of these little granny, what I guess most of us call a granny square Christmas stocking, when I was, golly, 6 or 7, 7 or 8. And I had a piano teacher, and every year my piano teacher would make a bunch of little gifts for her students. And one year I got a really cute little canvas embroidered sort of musical note. And one year she gave me this little granny stocking, and I was absolutely fascinated by it. I was delighted with it. And every year that I pulled it out to put it on the tree, right up into my 20s, I would look at it and just sort of marvel at it. And I kept thinking, I wonder how did she turn a square into this stocking? I don't get it. And it wasn't until I was messing around with some hexagons and because I saw other people making these stockings. Thank you, Joanne. That I realized it was a hexagon and not a square. And it's like, you know that wonderful feeling in your brain when the light bulb switches on? You can literally feel the light bulb flick on in your head. I got so excited. I made one immediately, and then I just was like bouncing around the house. Okay, there's my little hexagon. Now, if I fold this in half, it's going to be a very small little stocking. So I think I'm going to do what I just did with the big stocking, and I'm going to slip stitch across to the chain 2 space, and I'm just going to work a row or 2 of extension. So I'm going to chain 3, and I'm going to turn around, and now I'm going to work backwards, or no, I guess I'll just work in this direction. I'm going to chain 3, I'm going to work across here, so 2 more double crochet. That completes the first shell of the extension row, so I'm not doing corners anymore. Chain 1, a shell here, and a shell here. So 3 double crochet, chain 1, across the middle. I'd like to take a moment to wish my sweet sister-in-law a happy birthday today. She may or may not be in the house, I don't know. Oops, I think that one was a bit loose. Let's try that again. And finish that with 3 double crochet over here. There we go. So I've worked that shell stitch across the top of the side. So I've got shell, 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 shell all the way across the top. And if I fold it in half so that this is the top of the stocking, it's starting to look a little bit more elongated up top. I think one more row. I like the 2 rows of extension. I think it works. I'm going to chain 3, turn, and I'm going to just work directly into the next space with a shell. So the shell isn't sitting on the edge, the shell is in the first stitch, or the first space I should say. like that. So you start with the chain 3, turn immediately, and work your first 3 double crochet into the next space. Chain 1, 3 double crochet in the next space, and this will keep our edges straight. And then because the row began with a chain 3, or what I like to call a post stitch, just something that sort of sits on the edge and keeps it straight, it will also end with one. So I will double crochet into the top of the chain 3 from the previous row. There we go. Nico, oh my gosh, Nico. Nico, the gifting ninja, flies in again. I don't know, I've lost count of how many times she's zipped in and done this.
10 gifted memberships.
10 gifted memberships. Thank you so much. Holy cow.
I made that one myself.
Well, welcome and welcome back to Maribel, Janet, Maeve, Carla, Dawn, Rita, Jody, Katie, Kimberly, Tori, Maggie, Journey to the Homestead. Congratulations and welcome to the family. Thank you so much, Nico. Okay, that is my little bit of extension worked across the top. So after I finished my hexagon, I worked 2 rows of that straight back and forth granny shell stitch. Now I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm going to chain 1 just to kind of give myself a little bit of breathing space, and now I'm going to single crochet down the back of this, the little booty, around the heel, across the bottom of the foot, and up across the toe. So I'm going to grab the top of this chain 3 over here, and I'm going to stick it through the top or the side of this double crochet, and I'm just going to work in little sets of 3 as I go, just looking for the spaces, just so I know I'm not missing anything. And I'm not going to single crochet very tightly, because I don't want to pull any of my stitches out of alignment. I'm making sure that I'm getting through both sides of the little folded hexagon, and that's the upper part. And now I'm into the bit where all of the shells align. So there's like 3 double crochet, 3 double crochet, chain 1, shell, shell, chain 1, shell, shell, and then the corner. So now I just need to single crochet through the tops of each of these stitches, the sets. And I just worry about 3 at a time, 3 at a time, so that I know when I get to a chain 1 space, I haven't maybe accidentally knocked my little boot out of alignment. Oh, I think I snagged my hook. Let's try that one again. There we go. It's the middle stitch I want. Tiny work here. I do have my glasses on. I did not forget to put my glasses on today. There we go. And one more. Itty bitty little bit of lurk here. There we go. Nope. There we go. And a chain 1 space. I'm just going to work right through the chain 1 space. And then sets of 3. Another set of 3, making sure I get through both sides, and just single crocheting. When I get to the chain 2 corner space at the heel, I'm going to work 3 single crochet right through that chain 2 space just to kind of turn the corner, so that it kind of smooths the heel. And then I'm back to just working a single crochet through each matched set of stitches along the bottom of the foot now. Oops. A little bit of patience, but I feel like it pays off. This is going to be really cute. And I'm going to turn it into a little brooch because I just think that would be so stinking cute. And now I'm just got bottoms of these guys left to go. Very, very small work here. There we go. Into another corner, so I'm going to work 3 single crochet through this corner just to make sure it kind of turns the corner nicely, and then I've got 3 sets of matched stitches here, making sure I don't miss a side, 1 space, and then like I said, that the top of the toe is always a one shell that's folded in half. So I just want to stick my hook kind of through it, whether I get a stitch or whatever it is. I'm going to try and aim for 1 stitch. This is so small. So there's a stitch one side and there's the stitch on the other. Okay, so single crochet and then slip stitch back into the same place just to kind of make your stitches kind of lie a little flatter. Oh, that's so cute. Oh my gosh. Okay. Fasten off the thread. Gosh, that's cute. Now I'm going to weave my little tail in. So I need my needle back. Where did I put it? There it is. And I'm just going to weave that tail in underneath some of those single crochet stitches that I just did. This would also make a really cute little magnet. Don't know if anybody's mentioned that. I'm sure somebody did. I'm just, I can't look at the chat. If you can turn it into a brooch, you can turn it into a fridge magnet.
Yeah.
All right.
We're still on about the boot thing.
The boot thing? A boot? That just sounds so funny coming out of my mouth.
The show's about to be over.
A boot. All right. So there's.
We have a boot done.
That is the little itty bitty Christmas stocking. I feel like it could stand a little fancy edging, so I think I'm going to go absolutely hog wild here, and I'm going to switch back to my green, and I'm going to make like a little cuff for it.
Jayda's a boot to go hog wild.
'Cause why not? So here we go, itty bitty. I'm going to join my yarn in the back seam of the top of my little booty. And I'm going to create a little, I'm even going to create a little miniature hanger because I feel like that's what kind of makes a stocking look like a stocking. So before I do anything, I'm going to chain 10. And then I'm going to slip stitch right back into the same place that I joined my yarn. So that creates my little hanger. Then I'm going to just sort of put the hanger, I guess, to the inside so that I don't end up crocheting over top of it.
Are we going to flip a coin to see who gets which stocking for Christmas this year?
Yeah, you get the little
or
one.
Can we vote? I would like you to have the small one. That's my vote.
I'm going to chain 3 and double crochet in each stitch all the way around the top of the stocking. So that's what I'm going to do to start. First row is just straight double crochet in each stitch around the top. And it doesn't matter if you put in a couple of extra stitches because this is going to fold back down over top of the little stocking. So try to get every single stitch and every single chain 1 space. Make sure you double crochet into it. But if you get like an extra stitch in there, that's all right.
Everyone agrees. I get the big one, you get the small one.
I'm sure that's the consensus.
Yep, that's what's happening here in the chat. You just stay focused on your crochet project there.
So making sure that I don't accidentally crochet through my little hanger. I'm leaving it sort of tucked to the inside, and then I'm going to join that whole row with a slip stitch in the top of the chain 3 that began it. Oh, this is so small. Skip a stitch and into the next stitch. I'm going to work 5 or 7. I'll see how many this looks. 5 or 7 double crochet into that next stitch. So slip stitch to join, skip the next stitch, and work 5 or 7 double crochet. Let's see, what have I got here? 1 stitch into the next stitch. I'll do the exact same one on the big guy so you can see what I'm doing. Skip a stitch, and then 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into the next stitch. Little throwback to yesterday's pattern. And then skip a stitch and slip stitch into the next stitch. And then skip a stitch and 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into the next stitch. Yeah. Working it out on the small one so I can do it on the big one. I like it. And this is just adding a fancy little top to our very plain little stocking. Skip a stitch, slip stitch into the next stitch. Do I have room for one more? Yeah, heck, why not? Can I do that? Yeah, I'm going to sneak another one in here. 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, and then I'll slip stitch to join in the same place that I joined the previous row, so that it all kind of meets up at the back. And slip stitch right in here. Okay, then I'll fasten off. And I'm going to weave the tail in underneath these stitches, so around the front of the stitches I just did, because this is going to actually curl back down over top of the little stocking. So let's get this going. All right, I think that's good. It's not going to come undone. Snip. All right, and here's the magic part. You just fold that little cuff down over top of the stocking. Grab those little chain 2 points. Pull down on them. There we go. And then, of course, I've got my little hanger. Oh my gosh. Okay, cutest stocking award. That one's the cutest one we made today for sure. And then I want to add a little pin to the back so I can wear it like a little brooch, because I just think that would be super cute. I'm trying to decide which side I like the best.
That'd be really cute to add to ugly Christmas sweaters.
Oh, heck yeah. That is so cute. So which side do I like the best? Probably this side will be facing out. Okay, so then all I need is a little safety pin. And I always have a pile of them here. So don't need all of those. Just the smallest one, I would think. Yeah. Just a small little, if you've got a proper brooch pin, then use a proper brooch pin. But if you don't, then just use a safety pin. So I would just stitch the safety pin to the back. So for example, I always open it to make sure I know which is the side of the pin that isn't moving. So this is the moving side. I want to sew around the side that isn't moving. And then I position it somewhere on the back where I think I want it. And stitch her down. I think I'm going to use actual thread, sewing thread. So let me put that needle back in its little holster. I'll pull out another needle and I'm going to thread it up. I'm going to actually use thread. Embroidery floss would work fine. You could also use more crochet thread, but I think I'm just going to keep things super small. If you're going to turn this into a magnet, obviously you're just going to glue the magnet to the back, so that's fine. If you're using a proper brooch pin, you could probably glue the brooch pin to the back of it as well. So threaded up my thread, and I'm going to just anchor it here on the back of my stocking, and then I'm going to just sew around this opening. So I'm going to try not to poke myself. I'm going to get a couple of stitches sort of established here. There we go. And then so what I'm doing is I'm just grabbing literally the tops of a stitch from the stocking, and I'm going all the way around the little metal back, the non-moving arm of the safety pin, and I'm going to sew all the way down, and I'm going through the same place like a couple times, like 2 or 3 times per little spot, just so I know it's not going to come undone on me. And if you want to see a closer or like just a slightly different way to do this using yarn, then we will have a tutorial for you that includes that tomorrow. There we go. Feels like it's on there pretty good. So I'm just going to do a few more stitches down here at the bottom, and then I'm going to knot my thread and fasten off. And I've managed to not poke myself, which is great. So now
I will trade you 1 Canadian loonie for that little sock you just made.
You wanna
Deal?
1 Canadian loonie?
1 Canadian loonie.
What's that going to buy me? What's one little loonie going to buy me?
You can put it towards your Christmas gift.
Uh-huh. There we go. All right, needle back in case where it's safe. And now I can close that little pin up. There we go. And I've got a little wearable brooch. Aha, that is so cute. Made out of thread. I love it. It's even got its little hanger, so it looks like it's ready to be hung by the stocking, hung by the chimney with care, so to speak. I like Mr. InStitches' idea of adding that to an ugly Christmas sweater. But it's just so cute and small and delicate that if, you kind of want to be in the spirit, but you don't want to get all gussied up or put on a big themed outfit, that's a nice little subtle nod. You could also put a little hair pin, a bobby pin on the back of that and wear that in your hair next to your hair bun or something. That would look so cute. Gosh, that's cute. Okay, I'm quite pleased with that. I've got a new pin. All right, let's put an edging on top of this bad boy. I'm going to grab my big hook again. And pardon me while I busy myself in the craft room for a second trying to find a yarn that I like for a cuff up here. Talk amongst yourselves. I've got white. I've got that. I must have something.
Jayda digging through the stash.
That might work. It's kind of a thin ball. I can pair that up with something. Ooh, I've got this. That might do it. What else have I got? Maybe the combination of that together, that might do it. Yeah, I've also got this. I might try that. Okay. All right, I'm going to refill my water, guys. I'll be right back. Okay. This is difficult to see. As fun as that would be, I think I'm going to stay away from the crazy tinsely stuff. I'm sitting here thinking about it. I really like this kind of, because this has sort of a soft, almost oddly rustic kind of look to it. I'm thinking that I might just double up the use of this yarn because it's kind of like woolly. And I feel like that's too white. So I'm going to shelve both of these and I'm going to go with this. Now, I'm going to do...
Can see all the cats pawing at the screen right now. It's a good looking ball of yarn, I have to say.
It is. It is
yes.
A nice little ball of yarn.
Little
Perfect
ball
for,
of yarn.
for tossing. So I'm going to double this up. Double, triple. I think I might want to triple it up. So this is just a simple little, I'm sure you've seen this before, but if you want to just work like from a double or a triple up, I'm just going to knot my little ends together. And it's kind of like, it's sort of just, it's like you're constantly kind of looping it as you go. I'm not sure how to describe that. We'll see how it works. All right, so I'm just going to start with a slip knot. And then I want to pull my yarn through this little knot that I made. And I just kind of keep looping it through and looping it through. Luckily, this is just silly. Okay, so I'm going to join my yarn at the back seam here. Just kind of like underneath that seam stitch, just get my hook in there. And the first thing I'm going to do is start with a chained hanger. So I'm just going to join with a slip stitch. And I'm going to chain 10. Whenever you feel like, whenever you see your yarn running out, you see that loop, you just grab this and kind of pull more through it. That's 10. And there's my loop again, so I grab the yarn and I pull more through it. There's a little knot. Let's get this out of the way. All right, so then I'm going to slip stitch back into the same place that I originally joined my yarn in, right here. And that creates my little hanger. There we go. And then I want to just sort of bend the hanger to the inside of the stocking so that I don't end up working over top of it. And I chain 3, and the chain 3 counts as a double crochet. And now I'm going to double crochet in every single stitch all the way around the top. So because they're difficult to see, I'm just sort of feeling ahead for my stitches. So that one looks like kind of got it in the right place. This is a real mangy mutt of a ball of yarn here. There's my loop coming up, so I grab that yarn and I pull it down through it again. And I'm going to use the chain as opposed to working through the space because I want all of my stitches to kind of line up. And I'm just going to double crochet in every single stitch and chain around. And how many shells is that? I've got 3, 4, 5 shells. So 5 times 3 is 15 plus the edge seam, 16 plus 4 chain 1 spaces, 5 chain 1. So maybe 20, 21 stitches all the way around. Doesn't really matter. Oh, there's my loop again. So yeah, grab the yarn, pull it through. There's my loop again. Grab the yarn, pull it through. So I'm going to do what I did with the little miniature version of this. I'm going to double crochet in every single stitch all the way around just to kind of establish a cuff. And I'll have like 20, 21 stitches, somewhere around there. There's my loop again. And you can always add in an extra stitch if you feel you need it. It's okay to have too many stitches or more than enough stitches up top when you're working a cuff around a stocking rather than too few, because your cuff ultimately needs to fold back down on itself. So if you feel like it's a little tight, just sneak in an extra stitch. Nothing wrong with that. So I'm coming back around to the front. And I've got one more to just plunk into that seam. So I'm going to try and get one into this seam somehow, making sure that I don't snag. I don't want to snag my little hanger. There we go. Come on. All right, let's try that again. Out you come. There, that feels a bit better. Aha. All right, and then I want to make sure I fold down my hanger so that I don't accidentally work into it. Okay. Then I find the chain 3 that began that row, and I make sure the hanger is folded to the inside, and I join with a slip stitch. There we go. Okay, so yeah, that'll work. So there's an established double crochet in every single stitch and chain worked all around the top part of the stocking. It's more or less neat and tidy. I've got a little bit of yarn to weave in when I'm done, but that's no big deal. And my hanger is to the inside. It's to the inside, it's not to the outside. So let's do that little kind of fancy edging that I did here. It's so easy and simple. Right from where you are, so you're not chaining, you join with a slip stitch, you're going to skip the next stitch, find the stitch after that, and work 2 double crochet. Oh, there's my little loop. I got to pull more yarn through it. There we go. 2 double crochet. I wonder if 3 would look better on this size. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Let's try that. 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, a full split shell. Why not? And there's my loop. Grab the yarn. We'll stop for a second and see what this looks like. All right. Yeah, that's nice. 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. Is it too big? Not really. Not something that big. All right, I'm gonna skip. I'm gonna skip a couple stitches now and slip stitch just to anchor it. So I don't want that to feel too. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Now I'll skip a 1 stitch, 2 stitch. I'll skip a couple stitches. I'm just sort of freehanding this, guys. You know, maybe skipping too many stitches is. Nope, I don't want to skip 2 stitches. I want to skip 1 stitch. This is going to get crushed in. That's okay. Skip 1 stitch, join with a slip stitch, skip 1 stitch, and then do another split shell. This, when you're working around and around like this, you kind of sometimes have to fiddle with the pattern to make it work, especially if you're only working like 1 row of it. That goes for borders on blankets, edgings on stockings. It's not always, you know, the pattern written may have been written with one person's tension in mind, possibly a particular kind of yarn. So if you have to fiddle, add in a stitch, take out a stitch, do whatever you need to, make it work. I don't mind if my big split shells are kind of crammed together around this edging, because it's going to be turned down and it's going to sort of sit around the top edge of the stocking. Skip a stitch, slip stitch, skip a stitch, and then 3 double crochet. Oh, I gotta pull more yarn through. Chain 2. Three double crochet, skip 1 slip stitch, skip 1, and then another split shell. 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. When you're using multiple strands held together, got to be a little more patient. skip a stitch, slip stitch, skip a stitch, and another split shell. 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. All right, skip a stitch, slip stitch, and I've only got 2 stitches left, so am I gonna squeeze one other one in there? I've got 5. You know what? I will. I'm gonna squeeze another one in. Why not? I'm gonna cheat. So I've got 2 stitches left, and normally I would skip a stitch and work another into here, but I feel like that's just going to be too small. So I'm actually going to cheat another one of these in, I think. Am I? Let's pull this up and take a look. Do I need it? Yeah, there's too much of a gap at the back. I'm going to sneak one in. All right. So instead of skipping a stitch, I'm going to work the split shell. Oops. Don't want to work past my little loop. There we go. I'm going to work a split shell in here. And then I'm going to join. And that way I know it's going to be like I'm kind of cramming an extra one in, but because I'm sort of going to turn this down over the top cuff of this very chunky stocking, it won't look like it's crammed in, and it's better than having a gap, I feel. So there we go. Now I'm going to join with a slip stitch in that little false normal. So I want to pull all of my tails to the front. So I want them all out here. I'll get this knot pulled in. First things first, bury this little knot. There's one. And then I'm going to pull these out to the front, and I'm going to weave them in. There we go. And finally, the actual tie off. We'll just pull these through here and keep going. Talk about a chill Friday stream. I'll turn around and go backwards. So I've made this granny stocking like extra fancy. Really went overboard, but I mean, that's kind of the point, I guess, this time of year. You can never really go too far over the top, but I like having the ability to make these granny stockings a little bit fancier than the traditional small version, which are fine, nothing wrong with that, but why not give it a little something extra? Then you can fold this edging down over the top of your stocking. Oh gosh, that's cute. And then you've got your hanger out the top, so it'll hang. And the hanger sits kind of directly in alignment with the spine of the stocking. And your little edging just folds down over the top of it like that. So you've got just a cute little cuff. So, my gosh, look at the size of this thing. We turned, where did it even go? We turned this little guy, so your classic granny square, granny shell, little mini stocking, into a super gigantic one and into a super mini one. So what's the size difference between these? This one is 12.5 inches, 32 centimeters from top to bottom. This little one is, ooh, pushing 2 3/4 inches, or about 7 centimeters from top to bottom. And that's in the original. How tall is the original? About 4 inches? Yeah, 4 inches, 10 centimeters, top to bottom. So same rough pattern. It's a granny hexagon that you then fold into a stocking and seam the back and the heel and the bottom of the foot, and then all the way up the toe. You just nice little single crochet or slip stitching or sewing, however you want to do it, all the way around. If you want the top a little taller, before you seam it up, you work that shell stitch back and forth for a couple of rows, like we did here. Seam it up, and then if you want, you can add a little delicate kind of cuff to the top, little hanger. I added a pin here. You could add a magnet to these little ones, and that's a really cute little brooch or even a hairpin. You might even be able to tuck that into a Christmas card. That might not be too big. I can even get my little pinky into that. It's still a functioning little Christmas stocking. That is cute. So yeah, thread, regular size 4 yarn, super fluffy, extra bulky yarn. And I've got 3 Christmas stockings. Does anybody have any questions about this silly but cute Christmas stocking pattern? While I sip what's left of my apple juice, or my apple cider. Oh, that double yarn trick. Yeah, Julie, isn't that neat? I forget where I learned that. That's going back a long time now. It's a way to, if you just want to use the same color, instead of 3 different colors held together, you just want to use one yarn, but use multiple strands. Then you just keep that. You make a loop. So you fold your yarn, and you start with a nice long loop. But then you actually make, you create your regular slip knot now with this doubled up yarn. And then as you work, you get to the end of the loop, you just keep pulling the regular working yarn through it. And you just keep doing it. And really, if you can see it, it's a great big daisy chain. This is just chaining, but you're chaining with your yarn by hand as you go. And then of course, you're turning it into 3 strands held together, and that way you don't have to, split your yarn up into a billion balls or anything like that. But it ends up tripling up your yarn, which is really handy. Good way to use up old yarn, and it's a neat way to make it like kind of somewhat bulky. I'd say that's a thin, bulky 6. Yeah, I like that cuff. I think that worked out really cute. I will definitely be hanging this up in the living room. Mr. InStitches may find chocolate in it. We're not sure yet.
Have we decided who gets which size?
Well, I have to admit, I really do want to wear this. The little ones would make a really cute garland for the tree, Dawn. I agree. These ones look really nice, literally hung by the chimney.
I think the little one is even cuter to decorate a tree with.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You make a whole bunch of them.
It's just so delicate and cute. Yeah, I really like that. I mean, thread, it's just so neat.
We've decided in the chat, I get the big sock, you get the tiny sock.
Uh-huh.
And the gifts inside have to be according to the size.
Then the gifts have to be good.
Monetary
So,
value.
diamond earrings and
No,
chocolate bar.
There will be no diamond earrings.
Am I right,
Maybe
ladies?
a gift card to McDonald's. Or Tim Hortons.
I'd love to see you fit a gift card in that.
I'd have to really squeeze it in. I might have to fold it a few times.
Oh my gosh. All right, everybody. Thank you for hanging out with us. If you're still here, we really appreciate you spending a couple of hours with us today on a Friday. Tomorrow we will have a video for you. We have an actual video tutorial. So instead of having it here on Friday, we thought we'd live stream again, and we are pushing our regular Friday video to tomorrow, to Saturday. So we'll have something for you tomorrow. Another little Christmassy crochet project, something really simple. And we will see you guys next week. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to leave them in the comment section down below or on the original video. I pinned that original tutorial in the description box. So there's your quick catch up if you need it. If you've got photos you want to share with us of anything you've made so far this week or from any of our projects or tutorials, please feel free to pop into the Etsy shop and click on message seller, or if you've got an already open message thread with us, you can just add a photograph to that too. Let us know if it's okay to share with everybody, because we don't want to post anything that anybody just wants to kind of just show us and nobody else. That's fine too, but let us know. And have an absolutely fantastic weekend. I hope you all stay safe and cozy and sunny and cheerful. And Mr. InStitches, have you anything to add?
Nope. You covered it all.
Marvelous.
I
All right,
think
everybody.
that's it. Well, see everyone tomorrow for another video. And
Yeah, video
have
tomorrow.
a great weekend.
And then we'll see you all next week.
And then we'll see you live again on Monday.
Yeah, live again Monday, everybody.
Bye.
Have a great weekend. Bye.